to pursue the wealth.
Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast, brought to you by Ghost Energy and Pick Me Up Drinks. Just kidding, we're not sponsored by anybody. But if you know anybody at Ghost Energy or Pick Me Up, definitely let them know that they should sponsor this podcast because it's money. Anyway, we've got a very special guest with us. It is my beautiful wife, Miss Brianna. Do you want to know her full name?
No, please don't.
But this episode we wanted to do, it's a new year. We're officially in 2025. And so we wanted to do a little recap about life and business in 2024. We haven't released a podcast episode for like 6 months. That's because life's been kind of busy and crazy. But I don't know about you. Like, I feel really good with where 2024 ended.
Yeah.
For us in all of our endeavors. And I'm super excited about like the direction that everything's going. How do you feel with 2024 from a business standpoint?
I definitely feel like I was less stressed. We had a lot of fun, and I feel like we could actually enjoy the fun that we had. Like, we weren't answering a lot of phone calls. We weren't like, I don't know. I just feel like we were 100% present when we were traveling and doing what we enjoy, golfing, all of that. Whereas in the previous years, I feel like it was maybe physically we were somewhere, mentally we were still at the office.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like it was just a little bit lighter, if that makes sense.
I think 2024, I had probably been home for dinner and watched like sports more than I ever have.
For sure.
Because it was like, I was usually home at like 5 or 6 and we cooked dinner and hung out with Soph, like put her to bed together. So like, and that was something that I don't think really happened a lot in 23. Like running around a lot of the evenings and doing showings and stuff, which is fine. Like, I still love doing that stuff, but I think we just structured our days in a way that didn't require as much time when we didn't. I don't want to say when we didn't want to. We'd structure our days in a way that it kind of allowed us to have more time at home when we wanted to be there and be present.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that came from the people that we brought into our businesses.
Yeah.
So as I was kind of reflecting on 24 and this, like how I felt like, oh man, I feel like we're just heading in a really good direction. And I'm like, we sold a decent amount of real estate last year. And I didn't feel super stressed out or super spread thin. And we were running a few other companies as well. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, it really kind of happened. I read the book, Who Not How. And I was like, when did I read that? And I was able to go back in my pictures and find the exact date that I read it, because I read it when we were on our trip in Coeur d'Alene. And I was running around Coeur d'Alene Lake. We were staying in Harrison, the little town in Harrison, Idaho. Yeah. And I remember reading that. I was listening to it on audio, and I was running around the lake in the morning. And it was such a, like, that town was such a vibe. I'd wake up in the mornings to go on a run. Nobody, like, the town was asleep. There's like 2 stores. Sleepy town. And
fog was like hanging over the top of the lake.
Oh yeah. Fog in the mornings. And I'm running. And this book had just like, it was hitting me so hard. Like, everything that was getting said in there, I'm just like it sounded so simple. And it was like, yeah, duh. And I read it. So I was looking at pictures. We were there August 6th. And so I read it during that time frame. I texted Devin on August 8th. So literally 2 days after I read the book, Who Not How, I started thinking about, who do I need to bring into my world to make life not as stressful? Because we were running, in 23, like, we had started property management. We'd started the construction company. We were doing some development projects. We were running the team. We were doing our own production. And we were in charge of a lot of things. Yeah. And it felt stressful. And I felt like, I think 23, I was getting burnt out. Like, I had never felt spread so thin. Yeah. And then going into 24, like, reading that book, immediately started thinking, like, who do we need to bring into businesses? And so we had that conversation with Devin. On August 8th, I was like, dude, we need to get there for dinner when it would work for you. And we ended up going to dinner that next week. That's when we started talking about, how are they liking running their team, and sharing the vision of what we were doing and what we wanted to do. And we brought him into the team. We brought him back into our team as like a team leader. So
In October, right?
yeah, we brought him in October. So I read the book in August, met with him in August, spent September getting everything kind of figured out for that transition and what it would look like and making sure that it was going to make sense for both of us. And then he officially joined in October. And it was actually in September that he joined. And then he kind of really started taking things over. And over the last like year, we've just been slowly working with him to really kind of take over a lot of the day-to-day stuff with the team. And he's done an awesome job.
Yeah.
He's taken a lot of weight off our shoulders for that, for the team side of stuff. And then it kind of trickled. It was like, brought Devin in for that. You know, we've got somebody that, you know, we're kind of really hands-off with the construction company. We've got people that run that. We had started property management, and I was, you know, showing rental units and negotiating leases and all that stuff. And we brought somebody in for that. And we kind of cycled through a few people with the property management, but we finally have somebody there that's crushing it. We brought him in, and he's literally doubled, I think, our amount of rentals in the 60 days that he's been with us.
Yeah. But he's also like the maintenance manager.
Yeah, he does everything. He runs the whole day-to-day thing, and he's a stud. Obviously, like, he's a really, really good friend of ours. Crushes it with us on the team as well, so he does production as well. And it just, it opened my eyes to the power of people. Like, we brought Rex into our cash offer business and our flips, and we have never flipped homes as fast as we have with Rex. Because when we were doing it, it was like we were doing it kind of on the side, or we had another partner that was doing it on the side. But Rex, like, brought him on. It was like his full-time focus is going out to get deals and manage the flips. And he flipped a house for us recently in like 21 days. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that project probably would have took like 90 plus days on if it was just us doing it. And so it's really been cool to watch, like, the more opportunity you can provide to others and the more people you can bring into your world, the one less stressed you're going to be, and you can accomplish so much more.
For sure.
I think so many people get caught up on, they don't want to bring people in because they don't want to split profits, or they don't want to share this or that. And I'm like, I would rather have, you know, a slice of a watermelon than a whole grape. You know, that's what I always think about, is like, do you want 50% of a grape, or do you want, you know, 20% of a watermelon? Like,
Yeah, that's,
I like,
never heard that, but yeah.
no, I was actually thinking about this last night because I was thinking about production, and this is a side tangent, but we'll bring it back. But I was using this analogy for something else last night when I was sleeping. I was thinking about, you know, agents talk about market share. So they're like, man, I sell, you know, and we do it too. Like, yeah, you sell 20, 30%, you have 30% market share in your area. Like here, nobody has 30%. We have 10%, which we'll flaunt like, oh yeah, we've got 10% market share. Other agents in smaller towns will say like, oh, we have 50% market share. And I was thinking about it last night, and I'm like, but us taunting that, like having that 10 or 20% market share in a smaller town, or would we rather have 10 or 20% market share, or would I rather go into an area like Phoenix and have less than 1% market share, but still do like 600 transactions because there's just so much more volume?
Yeah.
So it's funny when you taunt that, you're like, oh man, it's almost like I retained, you know, 70% of my company. It's like, is that actually what you're wanting to do?
Yeah.
Like, do you actually care about having 50% market share in a town that you're selling real estate in because there's only 200 transactions in the whole
You're just a big
area?
fish in a little pond.
Yeah. I'd rather go get in a bigger pond and see how big I can actually get. Like Michael never talks about Michael Perry out of Utah. They're the largest team in Utah. They sell 1,000 homes a year. They're not taunting like market share because they probably don't have a huge market share. There's probably like 40, 50,000 transactions that happen there, probably more. And he's got 1,000 of them, which isn't crazy. You know, there's like 4,000 transactions here, and we have like 300 of them. And I think there's actually less than 4,000 this year, which is why we have 10% market share. But, you know, we almost have 10%, and it's like, I was proud of that, but then I'm thinking, I'm like, should I actually be proud of that? Or does that just mean that I'm playing small? I'm playing in a smaller market.
Yeah.
If you're taunting about market share, you're playing in too small of a market. Get into a bigger opportunity. And that kept repeating itself to me last night. So that's where it initially came from, but I tied it into this with owning a business too, because I think it's the same concept. It's like,
For sure.
yeah, Elon Musk is not taunting how much equity he has in his companies. Like he really only has maybe like 15% left in his companies. But again, would he had rather retained 100% and had Tesla not be a $1 trillion company?
Right.
No. Bring other people in, let them help, give them some incentive, give them profit, and go build a $1 trillion company and have a piece of that versus a piece of a, $100 million company. So
It's just a lot more fun too.
yeah, it's so much more fun.
I think it's been less stressful for sure because we have so many people in our corner that we can lean on when we need to. But I also just feel like it's just a lot more fun. Like having these people to have conversations with or, share these experiences with. Like we have some hilarious stories and it would be boring if it was just you and I that had to sit here and laugh about it. But we have dozens of people that we can sit around a dinner table with and just crack up about it.
Yeah. I love it. Like we've gone back, like I think 2023 was a stressful year with the team where we were like, man, should we call it quits?
Yeah. I think I asked you at least 10 times.
Yeah, running the team was not what we enjoyed doing, what we thought. It wasn't what how do I say this?
I think it was just the way the team was at that time wasn't the team that we enjoyed.
Yeah. Like I think we didn't have the model right, so the structure was a little bit off. I think people, culture just wasn't where we needed to be. And part of that, like I take ownership because we were just spread so thin that I hadn't poured the time and energy into it. And agents maybe didn't feel like they had the support that they needed.
Yeah.
But now it's like we fixed that by bringing more people into our world. And now we are building the team and the culture that we do enjoy. Like we're taking our first incentive trip this year with our top agents. Our incentive trip is for the end of 2024. It's like for that 12-month cycle.
I'm missing my family trip to Hawaii for the second time now.
Yeah, there's something. We need to talk to your dad about this because it's getting a little weird.
Yeah.
They planned a family trip right before Soph was born and we couldn't go, and now a family trip right before the twins are born and we can't go.
Yeah.
Both to Hawaii.
And they knew for 9 months
that we were having these babies.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They knew for 5 months.
Yeah.
That
we were having these babies
coming. Yeah.
And the trip wasn't planned until like 2 months ago. Yeah, sus. No, I'm just kidding. I
don't think it's the support I'm as worried about. I think it's just I remember with Soph, my postpartum got really, really bad at like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Where I just felt so alone, even though I wasn't alone.
Mm.
So I think that's what I'm more scared about. Like even if there's people there, like you were there with Soph, but I would like wake up in the middle of the night to feed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the only person awake in this entire world. Like, I don't know. It was terrifying, honestly. So I think that's what I'm more scared about.
I think hopefully it's better because last time we didn't have a doula or a nanny.
Yeah.
And so like it was so new. Like you were waking up for 2 months straight and then you start feeling that way.
Yeah.
Or hopefully if we have a doula for, 3 to 4 nights a week for the first month, you don't get that feeling because it hasn't been going on for a month or so. Like you've gotten some breaks in between. So hopefully that helps. And I think it might be a little bit different because we have Soph.
Yeah. I've done a lot of research. I know that doesn't surprise you, but a lot of people say that they have more severe like postpartum anxiety with their first kid just because there's just so many new things.
Yeah.
Whereas with twins, like I almost do feel like I'm having my first kid for the first time.
Yeah, because
it's just so different.
Yeah, we haven't had two at the same time.
Yeah, but there's also some relief knowing like I know what's normal now. I know that the hard nights or like the hard days or weeks or months like come to an end. Like it's almost just reassuring knowing like, okay, I've gone through this before. There's still going to be new things for sure, but at least I've been able to see that the difficult times can, like they do actually end up resolving itself.
No, I agree 100%. And I think it's like we're going to go through, there's still a lot of unknowns. It's not like us having another singleton where it's like we know exactly what to do. It's like we're going to have two and we got to figure out how to do everything with two babies this time instead of just one. But I think like it was so life-changing going from the life that we had with business and just like the freedom of going out whenever we wanted to and doing all these things, to having a child. Whereas like now we have that child and we're going to be busy with her throughout the day with the twins. So it's like when Soph was napping when she was little, it was like, what do? You just kind of like, you're at home doing nothing, but it's like when the twins are napping, you're going to have Soph to like play around with or take care of. And, you know, so, and I think our lives have already adjusted for having one child. And so it's not going to be as much of a shock bringing two more in, because a lot of our life isn't going to change.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's going to, sure. And I'm sure it's going to be rough the first few months, but, maybe this is me just trying to, you know, prepare myself mentally, saying it's not going to change.
I think the part for me too I have to just grasp is like with Soph, we still went out to restaurants, we'd still go shopping together, like we'd still do what we normally do. We just took her with, and it was just like a little bit extra exhausting.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could go out and do those things by myself with her when I have two others. Like I don't have 3 arms.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be a little bit of a shift in like, I'm not going to be able to be as independent as I'm used to being, because now there's 3. So yeah, we're in for it.
Speaking on like the whole twin thing, what, you feel like we're ready?
No, actually, not at all. I was really hoping the basement would be done by now just so that we could start to move stuff in. I feel like, I feel like we are in our house and settled enough to like, we're living there and we're comfortable, but just knowing that we have 2 more kids coming and their nursery, they don't have a nursery.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And all of their stuff is in boxes, like from the baby shower and stuff. So the only thing that I think is like, I feel a lot more chill about it this time around, just because I realized like with Soph, I knew this, but I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Is they really do just live in the bassinet in your room, like in our room for the first
few months,
3 or 4 months, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, okay, well, we have the bassinets, we have our room.
Yeah.
And the rest we'll figure out. So,
And they've got like we've got their changing table, Soph's changing table that we're just reusing and stuff. So it's like we have that. We've got all the stuff in that room that we need. Yeah. And then like we don't need a super cute nursery yet. Yeah. Once we get the basement finished, we're moving Soph's playroom down to the basement, and we're going to use one of her current playroom as their nursery. And so there's just still a lot of moving parts. Yeah. That we thought were going to be ironed out right now that just aren't yet.
Well, the thing too, we were going to wait to move in until the basement was done.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this just a day or 2 ago, and I was like, gosh, I'm so glad we decided to bag that idea, because I can't imagine. Like, I felt really helpless moving because everyone was telling me, like, don't lift anything. And here's the thing. I'm not disabled. I'm just pregnant. I can still lift. I can still do things. But I cannot imagine, like, having to move a house at this stage in pregnancy. Like, it's crazy how different I feel just over the last, how long have we been in there?
Month and a half.
Yeah. And I definitely am a lot more exhausted. I feel a lot more weak. And so I am glad that we decided to move in. And if the basement's not done by the time they come, it is what it is. Yeah.
We'll roll with the punches. But you're right. We weren't going to move in. I'm really glad we did.
Yeah.
And
the holidays were really fun. Everybody came to us not everybody. For the most part, family came to us for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for New Year's.
Yeah.
And that was just really fun. Yeah, I think it was a little more exhausting than I anticipated, just because I am such a clean freak.
Yeah.
I had to make sure the house was clean. I had to make sure that we had snacks and food prepared, which I really enjoy doing typically.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice just to be able to like go put Soph in bed if she got tired, and then
be able to still hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love entertaining. But there is a twist when you know, obviously a lot of that falls with you, like
the responsibility and everything. The cleanup, the setup, all of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I help, but like you're gonna want your level of cleanliness versus mine of what's expected when people come over is like you're gonna want everything cleaned, and I agree. Like I feel a lot better when everything's cleaned. Yeah. So I try to help out, but it's different when you have two babies in your belly.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. But We did it. We made it through it. The basement should be done in like a week. They're doing countertops right now.
Yeah.
Everything's done. Now that countertops are going in, if our tile guy will show up, we'll get the bathroom tiled, and then we'll be able to do electrical trim out and carpet. Like, we could be done in 10 days.
Yeah, for sure.
If we really push. Chase, if you're listening to this, Chase our GC, get her done. Just kidding. But
other than that, I do feel ready. Like I think this pregnancy has had to like force me to be way more chill about things because I'm such a planner, and there's nothing that you can plan with twin pregnancies or like labor and delivery at all.
Yeah.
Because everything is just so up in the air. Like, I'm at the point in my pregnancy where I'm like, okay, they could come in 2 hours, they could come in 2 days, they could come in 2 weeks. I have no idea. But I've just had to like, I've got my hospital bag prepped.
Yeah.
And we have no car seats in the car, but that's okay too. But
We have them.
we have them.
They're just not in the car yet.
Yeah. I did get my car detailed yesterday because I wanted to do that before I put the car seats in. But
Got both. Yeah, both of our cars have been detailed last week. See, we're getting steps there. We're almost there.
yeah.
But it's weird this time around too, because like I've basically felt for the last, I don't know, since December that we can't really do anything.
Yeah.
Because December, January, February, like you could really go at any time.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm supposed, like, the Be Wealthy Mastermind is like the
Month.
third, like next week, 10 days.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're texting me like, can't wait to see you and stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to go to that.
Yeah. I
There's
just want to go up to the cabin. Like, I just want to go get out of the house.
yeah, it's just scary because
Yeah. We have to be within at least an hour, I would say, of the hospital.
yeah,
at
which
any
the cabin is,
point.
but
Cabin is, yeah.
that would be
if we go.
safe.
Yeah.
We could definitely go up there, but it's still like that's about as far as we can go. It's like we can't really do anything else. My parents went to Arizona, you know, and they went to go see the Fiesta Bowl with Boise State, and it's like you guys want to come, and we're like, we would love to come, and normally we would absolutely go, but it's like we just can't go anywhere. It's just like we're in hibernation mode right now.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I'm excited. Switching gears back to the business and stuff. Any insights that you kind of gained from 2024?
I would say just the different type of team that we have created or adjusted to, maybe is the right word. It's crazy to me how much more I enjoy the team we have right now versus 2 years ago, just simply because of the people we have in place, the agents we have here. And not that the people we had previously were great people, but they were just coming from a different level of experience. And I have learned that I think we both learned this about ourselves, actually, because I know that you have said it too, is it's just a little relieving knowing that we've got people here that know what they're doing and they don't require as much hand-holding.
Yeah.
I mean that in the nicest way possible, too. It's not that the people we had previously were bad by any means, but a lot of them are fresh out of real estate school, and they just needed a lot more hand-holding, and it just seemed a lot more urgent because they didn't understand a lot of the concepts or the questions or the conversations or anything like that. So I just had a lot more anxiety, like if I get a call from a new agent and I knew that I needed to come into the office at 9 p.m. to help them with an offer, whereas that question would never come up with our current team.
Yeah.
And just knowing like any lead we get, like we've got an amazing buyer's agent under us that I trust wholeheartedly. But if something were to ever happen and we needed to hand a client off to anybody on the team, I would trust anybody on the team at this current moment with any of my like repeat referral sphere, anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a little bit more enjoyable for me. I thought that we would like having new agents a little bit more than we did, just because I think we both thought that we enjoyed teaching and mentoring.
Yeah.
And I think that we agree that we enjoy that stuff, but at a much higher level.
Yeah. I think you can enjoy teaching and mentoring, but I think it's the difference of teaching and mentoring in elementary school and teaching and mentoring in like college.
For sure.
And I think we decided we like the college better.
Yeah.
We like to have the higher level conversations. I don't want to go back to like grade level. This is how you write a contract, and this is how you need to negotiate your inspection contingency and all the little nitty gritty stuff, which is important and you need to know. But like you said, I even look at it as like raising a kid. Soph is pretty, even let's say she's become more independent over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
When a baby comes out of the womb, it's like they are fully dependent on you for everything. They know how to do nothing except for breathe.
Yep.
Like you need to feed them. You need to do all this stuff. And that's almost how a new agent is at a school. It's like they are fully dependent on you. They don't know how to build their sphere. They don't even know what a sphere is. They don't know how to market anything. They don't have business cards. They don't know how any of the contracts are. They're like, they need help with everything. And it just, it's not something that we super enjoy. We had a good process for it.
And even
And
creating the process, like there were times where I would go to create the process or improve the process,
Mhm.
and I almost forget what I didn't know at that point in my life
Yeah.
when I was a new agent, because it just seems so long ago, and you just get so stuck in the rhythm of things that you forget that they don't know what a sphere is. Like the fact that I have to define that
Yeah.
didn't even dawn on me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a lot more time intensive.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more emotional too.
Mhm.
Like these agents now, they can lose a listing. A deal can get terminated, and they're going to be down about it for about an hour, and they're going to be over it.
Yeah.
And
They understand the business.
yeah, and they understand that it's cyclical and everything comes back around and all of that. But as new agents, it would wreck their world for like a solid month if they lost something. And I feel like it was our responsibility to keep their spirits up.
Positivity. Yep.
So it's just more than just like the contracts and the legalities of it all. It's also just a lot more emotional and I think mentally draining than anticipated.
Yeah. And I think we constantly had these things where like people would complain about certain things, whether it's split structures or what they're getting or blah, blah, blah. And majority of it was new agents.
Yeah.
Who understood like nothing about the actual value that was being given to them from the team.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like you need those guys, like go join another team, see what they do or don't offer you, go try to be solo, see how that works.
Yeah.
And then if you can be somewhat successful and you have good production, like our team is a good fit and will help you offload a lot of the stressors that are on you when you're producing at a high level. Like our target now is agents that are doing 3 to 5 million in volume come to the team and we'll try to get you to 10. And we'll make it so that you are closing 10 million in volume and you're not stressed. Like I see so many agents that are just stressed out all the time and running around with their head cut off. And I'm like, man, we sold 25 million in volume this year. And I
feel like I've been retired since June.
yeah. Bree's like, I haven't even worked. Anthony did it all. Just kidding.
I know it was mostly the support staff,
but yeah, like we
even
have
Jace. Jace is a great example. Like I don't want to assume anything, but
careful with what you say here.
no.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I know.
kidding.
I made a mistake with him previously. No, I feel like he did a lot of stuff that he really enjoyed this year. He golfed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He went to a lot of football games. He went to like every Shelley basketball game in the last season. And you would think that he was an agent that maybe does 1 or 2 deals a year, but he's producing at a very high level.
Yeah.
And
About 10 million in volume.
yeah, and just has the time to do what he enjoys because we have all of the people and the processes in place. And I think that he is, if we had to like identify the agent that we wanted to like replicate and attract, it would be just more Jace's because he is really good at what he does. He's very passionate about it. He knows everything about it. He'll come in maybe once a month with a question for me.
Yeah.
But he's still able to do the things that he wants to do. He spends a lot of time with his family.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just...
We need to cut this out of there. We can't let Jace see this. His head will get too big. Just kidding.
Okay.
No, we love Jace. But it is like kind of the funny thing around the office is like Jace doesn't work. Yeah. And he plays along with it because you look at he does so much outside of work, which a lot of it does relate back into relationship building, which he's incredible at.
Yeah.
But
and I think there's a lot, he did say this too, and I cannot remember where we were when he said it, but he's like, I work hard in silence.
Yeah.
And I like kind of chuckled to myself a little bit because I believe it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Even then, we still don't kind of believe it. Just
because
kidding.
he's like, I'm like just trying to think. I'm like, okay.
He's like, I work when nobody's watching.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I'm like, okay, well, when you're here at the office, I don't know what you're doing. Is he trading? Day trading?
He's done trading. He stopped. I don't think he did that really at all in 24.
Okay.
And that might be a big thing. Like, I think he kind of redirected his focus back into full-time real estate. Like, in 23, he was dabbling between trading, what is it?
Crypto?
Not crypto. It's the currencies. Anyway, he was doing currency trading.
Okay.
And he was actually doing really good in 23. But I think he didn't mess around with it in 24. Like, he just focused on real estate. And I think it kind of shines and shows that when he focuses on something, the results that can bring.
For sure.
But I think what he relates to as far as like I work when nobody's watching is like he goes, let's say we mentioned he goes golfing a lot, but he goes golfing with people that he tries to build relationships with. And he goes to a lot of the Shelley basketball games and football games, but he gets business from people in the community by going to those games and being involved in the community. So,
and I think that's
kind of what he references.
Too, is just that I think everybody gets their business differently. And for some people, that's door knocking. Like Buxton, it's door knocking, it's making cold calls, all of that. He enjoys that. He thrives in that. And for Jace, just because it doesn't look the same, it is still his way of getting business. And I can't imagine door knocking or cold calling. I would have dropped out of real estate 2 months in, but it just looks different for everybody. So I have to give him credit because I do think he works really hard at doing all of that stuff. Yeah. And he enjoys it, which is why he's so good at it.
Yeah. It's natural. And that's why it doesn't look like work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because it just comes naturally.
And he enjoys it. And I feel like when you enjoy something, it does tend to not feel like work.
Yeah.
But I think that's what keeps everybody in the business.
Yeah. I agree. And so anyway, we switched our model, I think, with this new target of who is the avatar of agent that we want to attract and why. And part of that stemmed from we want agents that we don't have to deal with a lot of the new stuff with. But then we also want to have higher level conversations with our agents. Pursuit of Wealth podcast, it's like talking about building wealth and how do you do that? And when you have new agents, like I can't really talk about building wealth with new agents. They are just concerned about making their next commission check and like paying their bills. Yeah. But when you have an agent that's producing between 5 and 10 million in volume, if they're smart and they got their expenses dialed in, they are starting to save money and they are starting to want to build wealth and get into investing or buying rental properties or doing hard money loans. And that's where that's what gets me fired up and excited is when I can talk to an agent about, hey, you're making good money in production now. Like, what do we do with that money to make sure that it keeps working for you so that you don't have to be selling 50, 60 houses every year, that you can start to live a life that feels however you want it to feel. I don't want to say balanced because I feel like we're living a somewhat balanced life right now. Like I woke up, this is a bad example, but like this morning, it was like 8:30. We were kind of sleeping in. Soph woke up at 8:30. I went and picked her out of bed. And someone rings the doorbell, and
he's in his
my freaking like silk pajamas.
Dillard's, Macy's. No, Dillard's silk pajamas. It's Dillard's or Macy's. I don't remember.
Dillard's.
Dillard's.
Yeah,
okay.
Dillard's.
Silk pajamas
that you got me for Christmas.
Yeah, they're just bougie. They're black. They're black. He looks like straight out of a magazine.
Anyway, so I'm wearing these. Anyway, it's 8:30. I pick up Soph. I'm wearing my pajamas. Somebody rings the doorbell. I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm still waking up. Like my eyes, I need to rub my eyes because they're still a little foggy.
Mind you, we are still moving into our house, so the front door is all glass and we haven't put the frost on it. So there's no dodging anybody that comes to that door. Like they can see you clear as day. You have to answer.
You have to answer. Well, and as soon as somebody knocks or rings the doorbell, Soph goes running. So they're going to see Soph.
Yep, that too.
I'm like, well, Soph gave it away. Like we're home. Anyway, so I go in there. It's a contractor that's come because we're finishing our basement. And the contractor is also a licensed agent on another team in our market and like does builds and stuff. And he's like, hey, and like recognizes me. And I'm like, ah, shiz. I look pathetic. I just woke up. It's almost 9. I'm in my pajamas. He's out here working already. Like, I'm just like, man, this looks so bad. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, honestly, like those are the mornings that we've earned though.
Yeah.
It was 9 o'clock. Our nanny comes at 9. So I was hanging out with Soph until she got there, still in my pajamas. And when she got there, got changed. I went to the gym, brought my stuff to the gym to shower. I went to the gym, worked out, like still took some calls and text people back while I was at the gym. And then we went with Kyle and filmed at a new taco shop here. And then we came to the office, worked a little bit, and now we're filming the podcast. Like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I gotta remind myself about that is I always have this feeling of pressure of like,
Or guilt.
yeah, guilt. Like I should be working. Why I need to get this done. I need to get that done. There is always going to be a list of to-dos, and it's okay. Like, it is okay to be hard on yourself. You should be hard on yourself, and you should be pushing yourself to achieve more. But like, also take into account, like, why are you working so hard? And like, what did you want? What is the result of what you're trying to do? And I think the result of what I'm trying to do is like, I want to live a life where I get to spend more time doing the things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And literally today is like I think I'm excited about today because like, it is a day that I like really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like, I got to do the things that I loved. I spent time on the activities that I love. I still got my stuff in, and I was still able to kind of sleep in and spend time with you in the morning and Soph in the morning and not feel rushed.
Yeah.
I like, one thing for me that I hate is when I feel rushed, and you know that.
Yeah.
When I feel rushed, like, and I'm running to the gym and then I'm running to the first appointment and I feel like I'm behind, just gives me anxiety, and I just don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I feel like we're living a more balanced life, definitely way more balanced than the last 4 years
Yeah.
have been.
For sure.
We were like way heavy on the extreme side with working, and now we've kind of stepped back a little bit and have a little bit more balance. So, and I want to emphasize that because I'm like, you're not just going to jump in and get right here.
Right.
You're going to have to go through those hard years at the beginning where you're probably not going to be balanced. I call them like seasons in your life. You're going to go through seasons in your life where you're going to have to work 10, 12, 14-hour days and not spend as much time with the family. But knowing that, like, if that's what you want in the end, reminding yourself like you're working this long to make money that you need to save, and you need to make it work for you so that you can earn those days that you want in the future. And I think that's where people get so confused is they work so hard and they make the money, and then they feel like they need to reward themselves right then for making the money. So they go buy the nice things, and then they just keep having to work really hard every year. And then they keep blaming it on like, well, it's the fact that we have nice things. I got to keep working for those things. It's like, make sure you have an end goal. Because if you don't have an end goal of why you're working, then like you're going to just easily get in the trap of doing it, just working and spending. You've got to have like what are you working for? Like, what is it that you truly want? Do you want a sports car? If you want a sports car, go buy a sports car. If you want a super nice house, go buy a super nice house. But just know that like you're trading that for potential time. I would rather use money to buy time back and freedom of, going to the gym in the afternoon and slower mornings and not having like a pressure to do stuff that I don't want to do. That's why I work hard and want to have money. And everybody's different. So I don't want to like project that onto anybody. But like spend the time to think about like what you want. Because I think that's where people get so lost. It's really easy. I heard a quote that was like, people get stuck in just the day-to-day grind because they don't remember why they were grinding in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and it's really hard. It's really easy to hide in the grind. Like, I'm just grinding. I'm working hard. I'm working 14-hour days. It's like, for what?
Yeah.
So we can live a better life. Okay, well then the money that you're making from working those 14-hour days, are you putting it aside to start saving? Or like, what is your plan to get out of working 14-hour days?
Yeah.
Most people just don't have a plan. They're just like grinding and they're just like, I'm in it and I'm staying in it. And they just lose sight of like, why did you actually start doing this in the first place?
Yeah.
And so like, if you really like, we're in the first week of 2025, it's January 3rd when we're filming this. if you want 2025 to look different, sit down and have a plan. What do you actually want your life to look like? How do you want to be spending your days? How do you want to be spending your time? And you might not be able to get there right away, but like start working hard and have a plan to make it to get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and I need to get better at this, that I don't share with you, that like I see in the future that I'm working towards, and I'm like, I see it. And you're not the visionary type.
Nope.
I think you can say that.
Yep.
Because you're, and maybe this is why I don't share some of it with you, is because if I share it, you're going to say how.
Yeah.
And I don't know how yet.
Yeah.
But I see it, and I know that it's going to happen. I'll even take, like, let's say, like growing the brokerage right now.
Yep.
Like there's some people we're bringing on, there's some conversations we're having, and it looks like, let's say over the last 2 years, we've built or brought 40 people to Real. We could bring 40 people to Real in the next like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Now it's like, man, that's really coming to fruition, but it's taken time. And if I would have told you 2 years ago, like, hey, I want to have 100 people in our network with Real, you'd have been like, how?
Yeah. And not that I doubt you.
Yeah.
But I'm just such
you're such a process-driven person.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Like, I don't know how. We'll figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
I just do the things and keep progressing, and with the vision of like, this is where I want to be, and I try to prioritize conversations and things, but I don't get so caught up in it that like, hey, if this person doesn't switch over right now, like I'm devastated, because I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think we've done that with a lot of businesses. Like our main thing is selling real estate and building the team, and that's what we're doing. And if some property management opportunities come up with it, cool, we have this property management company, but I'm not like banking on this property management company to be our end all be all. Hey, we're still selling real estate, and like we have a construction company. I'm not banking on the construction company to be our end all be all, but like if we get opportunities from there, great. It's almost like having a big enough net that we can catch opportunities, but also not saying like, oh, not put ourselves in a position where we're starving, that we have to be catching opportunities with those nets.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Not as relying on them.
Yeah. And I think that kind of gives a little bit of freedom of, for me, it kind of relieves some pressure.
Yeah.
And then I think things happen more naturally, and maybe it doesn't happen as fast because we don't have that pressure, but that's how I want it.
It also doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with when I was talking earlier about it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
And I think that because it is a little bit more natural, it's a lot like the new agents versus the agents we've got on the team now, where when they go to a listing appointment, they don't have to have that deal to put food on the table. I'm not saying it's not going to be nice and it's not going to be beneficial for them, but it's not like if I don't get this listing this month, then we're not going to have money to pay our bills.
Yeah.
So I feel like the approach is a lot more natural. It's a lot more genuine. You're coming from a place of help, and people can see that.
Yeah. Coming from a place of help rather than need.
Yeah.
I need to get the sell. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's like, no, I'm doing this because I want to do it, and I think that it brings value.
Yeah.
Like all of our companies are started because I wanted to bring value into those spaces that I felt like was lacking. And so it's not like hey, we're just building this to make money. It's like, no, we're building this because I think it can bring true value. And I think if you lead with that, better outcomes you're going to get better outcomes in the long term.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe not as fast growth in the short term, but long term. And I think we've just kept that mentality. Like we're young. We're playing this we're playing for decades. I look at like even 10 years from now, I'll be 38. Well, technically kind of 39 because I'll turn 29 this year.
Yeah, a few months.
Which Bri just turned 29. She's almost 30. That's actually kind of scary.
That is actually scary.
But let's say even 10 more years from now, if we're in this for another 10 years, just doing everything that we're doing. I mean, honestly, we'll be in it for the next 30 years. But even next 10 years, it's like we'll still only be 39, right under 40. It's like, imagine what we can do in the next 10 years with the direction that we're heading.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me. And time's going to go by so fast anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the last 6 years, I feel like that we've been in real estate, like time has flown. But I look at how much progress we've made over the last 6 years since we started. So I think it just, like my big emphasis to people out there is like focus, have patience, but like also on a micro level, move with speed. Like do things fast, make decisions quickly, fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Like we've moved around from brokerages. We've done certain things. Real has been so beneficial to us as a brokerage. I could have dwindled on that and been like, I moved brokerage. We'd moved to EXP and then 6 months later we moved to Real. I could have been like, we just moved 6 months ago. I'm not going to take this opportunity. But no, I was like, what do I have to lose? Just make the move. If I don't like it, I'll learn that I don't like it and I can do something else.
It's like the conversation we had in the car the other night, just about the agents in our area who take so long to jump on these trends or I don't want to call it a trend, but just to take action at all.
Yeah.
And by the time they do, that ship has sailed. Like I feel like there's so many agents still who won't invest in content or videographers or anything like that. And let's say they'll do it in 10 years, but in 10 years,
it's too late.
It's too late. And I don't want to say that, but it's
and not that it's too late.
Anything is better than nothing for sure. But it's like
the saying, the early bird gets the worm is true in everything.
Yep.
If you're early to anything, you get the worm. If you're an early investor in Apple, you're an early investor in Facebook, you're an early participant in a new brokerage model, and if it plays out, you're going to win more than anybody else is going to win. It's just how it is. The person that first invested into Apple wins bigger than anybody that invests today.
And I will say that the agents that you were just speaking of that are joining, that have recently joined and will be recently joining Real, it's probably exhausting for them to think about how much time and effort goes into the switch because you have to rebrand everything. Yard signs, there's just so much that goes into it that I think a lot of people don't think about. And if it were me, I could understand it'd be a little debilitating to want to switch because of that.
Yeah.
They're doing it. They're still here doing it. They all are. So
that little sacrifice of time and energy that it takes could pay off so big though.
Yeah.
And we've transitioned CRMs for like 2 months and then transitioned back to the CRM. It's like, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try something. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Then go back to what you're doing. But like, you're going to fail regardless if you're trying to be successful. So just go ahead and start failing so that you can be successful. But so many people are just scared to fail.
Yeah.
And they're scared of what other people are going to think about them. So don't be that person. Make 2025 the year of your life. Be focused, be patient, but move with intensity and speed, and give yourself some time. And I think you could make 2025 super successful. Here, we're going to wrap up. Any last thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
No.
2024 recap.
I'm excited for 2025.
I am too. We've got two new babies coming. We've got a lot of things going for different businesses. I'm just pumped. A lot of positivity going into 25.
Yeah.
So love you guys all. Thank you for listening. We're excited to be back with the podcast. If you guys have any topics or thoughts you want us to cover in upcoming episodes, please let us know. And if you or somebody you know would like to be a guest on the Pursuit of Wealth podcast, shoot us a DM. We are looking for new guests to fill up 2025, and we'd love to interview or talk to anybody that gets recommended to us. So shoot us a DM. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Welcome to the chase.